Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel on YouTube. The conversation I wanted to have today is something that it's part of my journey of clarity at turning 40. I struggle to make friends. I have always been a person who was very quick to cut people off. I've always been like this. This is so unstructured, so it's terrible, but bear with me, it's going to make sense. So even when I was younger, I was never one to have many friends. I had a handful of friends, and that's okay. I probably had 2 friends or 3 friends, never anything more than a handful. And then throughout the years, you start to lose them through life, work, family, career. And I think for me, part of the reason is you always have to think, why am I the one who's not keeping these friends? As much as it could be the fault of the other person, I also have done some self-searching, some self-reflection. And I think what it stems from, or what part of the reason could be, I grew up in a single-parent household with just my mother. And honestly, we were a dream team. I am the first child, so I am the eldest of all my siblings. Together with my mother, we were a dream team, and we made sure that everything was basically done, everything was accomplished. And I think this also led to myself not allowing myself to open myself up to other people. Whether it could be through shame, whether it's guilt, I have no idea. I'm still in the process of reflecting about this. But I felt like the relationship and the partnership that I had with my mother was everything. It gave me everything that I needed. She was my best friend. Of course, she was my mother first, but she was my best friend. And we would happily do things together. We would go on holiday together. We spent all of our time together. But in that sense, I then became very closed off to other people throughout my life. And if I met someone and we clicked, and if anything happens, I would be so quick to cut that person off. If something happened, I was like, oh, I don't like it, I'm out. And the reason being is that I was fulfilled in a way where I felt like I didn't need outside people to comfort me, to be there for me, because I had this one person who was always stable, who was always giving me what I need. And then I think it came also to a time where my mother would make these observations. This is the funny thing, that it comes kind of full circle. So my mother, but you had a friend, what happened to them? And I'd say, oh no, they annoyed me. They basically annoyed me, so I cut them off. I don't need them anymore. And my mother would say to me, it's your friend, try and make up with them, speak to them, reason with them. And I would be so why would my mother be telling me all of this when she's everything? It all broke my heart, because I was thinking, she's everything to me, and she's telling me to repair this broken relationship that was there, that I felt that it didn't need to be repaired. But I realized that this cutting off of people is because the fulfillment that I felt with the situation that I had with my mother. We don't often think about how these relationships, now that I am a mother, I do start to think to myself, I don't really want to repeat these things necessarily. And I think my mother at the time did what she needed to do, and I kind of stepped into a role where possibly someone else could have been there, like a partner, but there wasn't a partner. She was a single mother, and that's okay. So through all of this, I've come to realize that actually I am the cause of not really having friends. I'm trying to be a better person. I'm trying to be more open, but I think it's a bit more difficult to make friends at the age of 40. A lot of people are fully into their careers or their families. There's a lot more going on and a lot more pressure than when you're younger, when you're a teenager, when you're in school. It's much easier to make those friendships. But at this age, it's going to be a little bit difficult. And to be honest, maybe it's not something that I need, but it's something that I need to work on. Is to be self-aware so that I don't create the same generational repetition of what happened with myself and my mother. And I value my mother to the highest degree. She's an amazing mother. I've got to take some things how they were, and not that I'm blaming the situation that we had, but also I need to understand that part of that was how I grew up. Just a quick conversation that I thought may be important, might make you think about your own situations, why you may be lonely, why you may be not having friends. And not having friends is not the end of the world, but it's also good to kind of understand and be aware, especially if you have a family or if you have children, that these things do not then impact them. And my mother was heavy on learning from the previous generation and applying that learning to the new generation. So she in herself, she made a lot of changes from how she was brought up, which led her to be an amazing mother. I'm also trying to take that torch and learn from it and just try to be the best mother that I can be, and hopefully understand myself a bit more as I come into this midlife 40s age. That you found this valuable. I hope it maybe resonated in you, and if it did, I would love to hear your comments. I would like to hear your thoughts.